Hi 7th graders, it's Mrs. B. Today I want to show you how to get started with your clay mug. You're going to be getting a piece of clay tomorrow, like you see here. Before I get to that though, just a couple of materials that you're going to be using tomorrow in class, as well as throughout the rest of the week and into next week. The first thing that you're going to get is a piece of canvas, so the canvas that's under the clay right here. If there's not enough at your table, just look around at others. There should be plenty of canvas for everyone to have one. First and foremost with the canvas, they are going to be full of clay and full of clay dust. Number one rule with the canvases, which most of you already know, is do not shake these. It can be very, very dusty. For those who have allergies, even with those without allergies, it can be really miserable. When we clean these, we take them outside so that all of the clay and dust is outside. So number one rule, no shaking them. So that's the first tool that you'll need. The second tool is a rolling pin. You might have a wooden rolling pin, you might have a plastic one. I usually just get some PVC pipe and cut that up. The only thing to watch out for is with the plastic ones, the clay likes to stick to plastic, so you have to be really careful. I oftentimes leave some clay on the PVC pipe rolling pin so that it doesn't stick as much. It's very similar to if you are going to roll out pizza dough or cookie dough, you put a little bit of flour on there. If you have big chunks of clay on your rolling pin, you can go ahead and scrape those off. Just keep them on your canvas, and then you can drop those into the garbage at the end of class during cleanup. The next thing you'll need is a ruler. There should be some in your boxes. We use clay rulers for these, so you'll notice that they're very dirty. If you can't see them, just kind of wipe off the parts. You just need to be able to see numbers on the inches side when you start rolling out your clay and measuring your pieces. The last thing that you're going to need is the cutting tools so that you can cut your pieces out. We have a lot of different types of cutting tools. We've got some wooden skewers, and we've got these green plastic ones. These work best for cutting, and then some of them have some little designs in them, different notches cut out, so you can use them for designing and adding texture as well. The wooden tools, and these are all on the front table by the door. I do expect you at the end of your work time every day to put these back into the containers at the door. But these ones have different ends on them. Some of them are sharp, some of them are good for blending, but these work really nice as we continue working with putting your mugs together. When you get your clay, you're going to get a slab of clay like I have here in front of me, and it's about, it will be anywhere from about 3/4 of an inch to an inch thick. This one happens to have a hole in it, so I'm just going to roll and pretend like it's not even there. When you roll your clay, what we're looking for is a width of, or excuse me, not a width, but a thickness, about the thickness of your pinky finger. So I'll be using my pinky finger to measure this. When you're rolling, it's a good idea to flip the clay over so that you're getting a really even slab of clay as we continue. And then the clay is already going to be tall enough for your mug, so you don't have to roll this direction here. You just need to start making this a really long rectangle so you have a really long piece of clay to cut your wall from. So you're going to start by cutting out your wall. And these will get pretty thin. Again, we're working on the canvas so that the clay doesn't stick to the table. So always want to make sure that you're working on top of a piece of canvas. So I am almost at the thickness here that I need to be. It's a little bit higher on this side. You don't want pancake thin for this because we want the walls to be sturdy, but you also don't want really, really thick clay because it's going to be heavy. It's going to take a really long time to dry. And it's just really not ideal for making the mug to have really thick clay. Okay, so this is good here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this part off right at the edge because I'm not going to use that since it has a hole in it. So this will be my extra clay stack here. And then I'm going to do the same at the top. I don't have to do any measuring yet, but you'll notice that I'm using the ruler to help guide my cutting, to make sure that I'm cutting nice straight lines. And I'm actually going to move it to this side. So I can hold that ruler down, push the cutting tool right up against the ruler and slide that across so that I get a really good straight even cut like that. At this time I'm going to measure out 10 inches. So on this end of the ruler I have, it's on the 10. It's going to be really hard for you guys to see this. And I'm going to make a little mark at 0 so that I know where the 0 mark is. I'm going to go ahead and do this at the top as well. Set this on the 10 and make a mark at 0. This, you may remember, is very similar to your animal portraits that you did last year. You had to measure twice. This one looks a little bit off, so I'm going to go ahead and redo that line. So just make sure that they look even. The nice thing about clay, before we cut it, it's pretty forgiving, so if you make a mark, you can cover that right up. So now I can match these two pieces together, or these two marks together. Press down on my ruler and make, again, that nice, clean, straight cut. Add that to my scraps pile. At this point, this is a really tall mug. So if you're looking to make a mug that's pretty tall, you can keep it this tall. The requirement is that it's at least 4 inches tall. If I measure mine here, I'm at 7. So I'm going to actually cut mine back to 5.5. So I'm going to make a mark. I'm at 0 here, made a mark at 5.5 on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and make a mark at 5.5 on this side. Then I can match those 2 points up, press down on my ruler, use the ruler to help guide my cutting. Okay, and then this is what now I have for my mug. I'm going to just clean up this bottom piece a little bit too, just a touch. Okay, so this is what you'll have, or what you'll want to have for the wall of your mug. This is ready to go. I'm going to move it to the side so I have some more room to work. You're going to take that extra clay, and this is actually called wedging the clay. You usually do this on the surface of your, that you're working on, so the canvas. Typically when the canvas is secured, it's a little bit easier to wedge the clay, but really you're just trying to push this clay together to get rid of any air bubbles that you might have. You're going to roll this clay back out, and the clay that you have today should be pretty soft, so you should be able to roll this together fairly easy. If you need to, though, you can always stand up and you just get a little bit more strength when you're standing up over the clay. For this one, I'm going to go a little bit thicker than what I did for my wall, because we're going to be cutting out the base. And I just want to make sure that I have a good solid base circle for this wall to go around. At this point, you could cut out a circle, but just doing it blindly is a little bit difficult. So what I usually do is set my wall very carefully up onto the clay that I have rolled out, and I'm not pressing it together because I don't want anything to stick yet. So I get that set up. Doesn't matter if it's perfectly, centered or if it's an exact circle. But now I can just use this as a guide. And even if it's not cut out, exactly as neat as we want it, that is okay. So I'm going to go around, cut that out, and it probably will stay connected. And because we haven't used any we haven't done any score slipper seal, this will come right apart. You just have to convince it to do that. So this is all extra clay. This will go into the bag on the back counter by the sink. You'll get new clay tomorrow when we start building. These are the pieces you need today. What you'll get at your table is, and in the box you should have a piece of newspaper. You're going to set a piece of newspaper on top of your wall, then put the base on there. This is what is going to go into your plastic bag. Each of you will get a gallon-sized plastic bag if you haven't already. You'll need to put your name on it and then put these pieces in the bag. Put them on the cart so that you have them ready to build tomorrow.